Mega Starmie is probably one of my favorite Mega Evolutions in Pokémon Legends EA, which I know is a very hot take, but with just how deep the whole conspiracy behind it actually goes, I say that we spend our time investigating it thoroughly to determine whether or not it really is an alien. Welcome to the annual tradition on the channel, Alien Week, where we talk about some of the weird and wacky Pokémon from outer space. But before we can start talking about Daddy Longlegs here, let's go ahead and recap things with Staryu and Starmie, two of the most iconic water types of Generation 1, but there's always been something a little off about them. With many of the moments that it had in the anime and the video games, I always wondered, are they aliens? Now, we do have Pokemon that are straight up confirmed extraterrestrial or interdimensional beings, no debate there. But then there's this weird middle category of Pokemon that feel like they should be aliens. That's Staryu and Starmie. I've always really liked them, they're perfect for early Pokemon, but they definitely stand out for the bunch. No face, no real expression, just a blinking core and a rigid body. Then yeah, that lines up with real sea stars and other deep sea life, but that's also where things start getting interesting, because when we think of aliens in fiction, especially older stuff, it usually defaults to the gray alien look, the whole uncanny feeling of being almost like us, but not exactly. Over time, people started realizing that if aliens actually existed, they probably wouldn't look anything like us at all, and the closest thing we do have to that kind of unfamiliar biology is the ocean. Deep sea life already feels alien, so naturally more recent sci-fi started pulling from that. You see it in stuff like Starro from DC or a ton of kaiju and Tokusatsu designs, which is honestly probably where Staryu and Starmie got their DNA from in the first place. Gen 1 was pulling from that kind of inspiration all the time. Anyway, the idea that these things might be alien doesn't just come out of nowhere, it's kind of baked into their design. But what's really interesting is that the games themselves sort of lean into it. Back in Pokemon Red and Blue, Staryu is labeled as Enigmatic, which is vague but intentional. Then Generation 2 starts getting a little more specific. Gold mentions its core flickering like a heartbeat, which is already kind of unsettling. And then Crystal goes even further. Staryu rising from the ocean at night, its core blinking in sync with the stars. And Starmie? That one's even weirder. Various entries straight up say that it sends signals into outer space using its core, like actual legitimate signals. So what you end up with is this pattern of behavior, these Pokemon gathering, pointing themselves toward the star and transmitting something, and the people observing them are just trying to make sense of it. They see that happening and go, yeah, that's gotta be space related, right? In Alola, people even started spreading rumors that Starmie might actually be an alien invader, which is a really funny story, imagine if that were real. Definitely not anything new for Pokemon because Rayquaza is just letting anybody pass the ozone layer except Deoxys. But anyway, if you strip away all of the rumors and hearsay, the signal thing keeps coming up. Over and over again across different Pokédex entries, it's either suggested or outright stated that Starmie emits radio signals. Not just communication with each other, but something being sent out, and that's what made it so interesting. Because when people talk about alien Pokemon, Staryu and Starmie almost never show up. They get overshadowed by the obvious picks. Meanwhile, these two have been quietly doing their weird signal thing since Generation 1 and nobody really questions it. Then you take a look at something like Deoxys, a confirmed alien, and suddenly there are weird overlaps. Regeneration, psychic typing, a central core that the entire body revolves around, is probably just shared inspiration. Sea star biology filtered through a sci-fi lens, but it's still a little convenient. Though if anything, that might just be a surface level connection. After digging into it, there's just not enough to say definitively one way or the other, which is kinda disappointing honestly, especially when you compare it to something like Clefairy where the anime just went all in and gave him a spaceship for some reason. But even without confirmation, Staryu and Starmie always felt different. In the anime, that especially comes through. Misty uses a Staryu and Starmie, or at least a Starmie until she decides not to, but it is still a race Pokemon in a lot of other material. And one thing I always liked is how their cores would blink when they get hurt. Apparently that's a Tokusatsu reference, specifically Ultraman, which I've never really consumed much media of, but let me know if that's something I should check out. Because now in Pokemon Legends EA, everything completely changes. What was once a mysterious Pokemon that may or may not be from space, is now basically confirmed to be yet another alien. So obviously it all has to do with Mega Starmie, the #1 meme that everybody was posting about when the games first came out, and in all honesty, one of my favorite new Mega Evolutions. Obviously having a really weird design with how long the legs are and how it basically just looks like a man in a suit, which is actually perfect because of that Tokusatsu inspiration. The way that it runs around and does all these weird different poses, it actually takes a lot of different inspirations and mixes them all together. But yeah, honestly that pose specifically is one of my favorite parts about it because yeah, you know, sure, we've seen the meme about Patrick Star, but people also point out that it looks exactly like the Starman from Earthbound, another game I have never played, so let me know if I should add that to the list as well. But personally, every time I see this pose, I just keep thinking about the Superman pose, which in all honesty maybe even serves as a small hint of inspiration for this design, the general feeling of being some sort of superhero from outer space. I absolutely love that Mega Starmie EX in the trading card game that recently came out has a full art variant doing this pose, and I am so happy that I actually got to pull it from a pack, even though it's not like too expensive or anything. The meme status is all the value that I personally need, but the illustration rare variant of this card has it firing off a beam from the top of a tower at night. This isn't like one of those extraterrestrial signals that it's sending out, but this is a lot more of an attack. Yet again, very similar to that Tokusatsu idea. But if that wasn't enough to convince you that this is a superhero that you need to save the day, very recently at the beginning of the month for April Fools, Pokemon had a 10-hour live stream that was just a continuous loop of Mega Starmie running that also showed the trading card. It was all the way to promote Perfect Order, the set where Mega Starmie appears. But man, this is absolutely insane dedication to the meme, and I congratulate them for that. But let's actually start to break down some of the lore of this Pokemon, because all of the Mega Evolutions actually have their own Pokédex entries. In Pokémon Legends EA, regular Starmie's Pokédex entry just kind of recycles the idea of sending out mysterious signals into the night sky, but Mega Starmie is really interesting, saying that its movements have become more human-like. Whether it's simply trying to communicate or wants to supplant humanity is unclear. So hey, I guess it's a multiple choice question. You get to pick if Mega Starmie is gonna be your angel or your devil. Is he gonna save a day, or is he gonna invade the earth and take over everything? I, for one, welcome our new alien overlords. Though those, of course, are just some interesting observations filtered through the Pokédex, not really giving us a definitive answer and basically just being even more rumors and speculation from the world of Pokemon. But there is a side mission in Lumiose City that just might give us a little bit of an answer. So I've sent my best agent down there to investigate. If you head over to Magenta Sector down by the water, you'll find this one NPC standing there who thinks that you beam some sort of message into her brain, and even when you deny it, she'll just say, "Ooh, I see you're one of us, meet us back here with a Starmie later at night." So if you do exactly that, you'll see a bunch of other trainers with their own Starmie. And I don't know if we should consider this a cult, a support group, or some kind of Starmie PTA meeting, but the point is, once the activities actually begin, everybody stands around in a circle with their Starmie, and they all start chanting Starmie. You as a player are even prompted to do so as well. And while the NPC you met gives you a reward afterwards, what this really resulted in is that a shooting star was seen falling toward Blue Sector. So if you head to the plaza there, you'll see that there's now an item on the ground, and when you go over to check it out, it turns out to be a Moonstone. An item that we basically know for sure does come from space because of its connection to Clefairy. But the extremely interesting thing is that after you complete this event, Starmie can now be found in the plaza. So it is very strongly implying that the group of Starmie trainers you met up with were sending signals with their Starmie into space that reached another one of their brethren who crash landed onto Earth. So at Pokémon Legends EA, looking at Mega Starmie's design and inspiration as well as this single event, while we still don't have that official full confirmation about Starmie being an alien Pokemon, I might honestly maybe change my answer, because when I did a video about Starmie last year before we had the Mega Evolution revealed, I came to the conclusion that it was not an alien. The reason being that a lot of the examples we had in the past were relatively inconclusive, and that Starmie was always classified as the mysterious Pokemon, implying that this was meant to be a vague mystery for fun. But now with all this new evidence, and actually I realize the anime also has a Mega Starmie who isn't confirmed to be from space itself at the moment, at least to my knowledge, but has an affinity for traveling to space, I'm gonna go ahead and change my answer and judgment and say that Starmie is actually an alien. So let me know what you think in the comments below about Starmie, Staryu, and Mega Starmie, the brand new Starman that's gonna save the day. Do you like these Pokemon? Are you a fan of the Mega Evolution design? Are you a true believer that they're actually from space, or are you also gonna doubt the truth? If you enjoyed watching, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and hype up the video as well if you're on mobile, and get ready for even more videos across every GatorX channel as we continue through Alien Week, but I hope that you're ready and brave enough to continue our investigations. Thank you to every channel member for your continued support, including the great Gators, Cemetery Hill, Jammy, David Shelf, Byron Brown, Saturn B, Meguka, Suffering, Cosmo Zero, Pewus, Mao, Kiko, Kaiser, Newbie, Jellyfish Chic, ITC, Lord Jeff, Hype, Pepperton, Alex with Shiny Hunts, Starsshooter, Koi 13, Cheez-It 62, Gator Kid 509, TF, Mathaclock 947, Taishira, and Quago. If you would like to support, see your name here, get access to emotes for comments, live streams, sometimes early videos, and our members-only Discord server, you can become a channel member today. You can also follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky as well for more memes. Anyway, this is GatorX, and I will catch you all later.
An intergalactic traveler has arrived to challenge the powers of space and sky. Pokémon trading card game EX Deoxys. You can boost your collection with over 100 new cards. Pokémon trading card game EX Deoxys. They're out there. Booster packs sold separately.